Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining me this evening. My name is Monica Buckley. Today's society has become desensitized to violence. This has become rampant throughout the United States. This is shown by the amount of children that have been killed by people attacking our schools. To become desensitized, it's to cause someone or something to react less or to be affected less by something. And this something is violence. The question we all have is, how has this happened? We have become desensitized by being overexposed by these facts. We have been exposed to violence through our media. Our media has become instantaneous. The second something happens, it is there at our fingertips. And because of this, everything that has happened, people know immediately, including all the horrors that have happened across the world. We see violence every day in our movies, our music, and our books. This has become a concern of parents, politicians, everyone. The question is, what is violence? And how has this come about? Violence is the use of physical force to harm someone or something, a destructive force. Violence originally came from our instinct to survive. Originally, the only time people would enact violence would be to protect themselves or their families. This is called the flight or fight instinct. The only problem is that people have started fighting more than trying to figure out how to solve these things. And because we have been overexposed as a population to violence, we no longer see violence as wrong. We see it in the news every day. Just as we saw a football player not so long ago beat his spouse in an elevator and barely got a slap on the wrist for doing such an atrocity. It was almost virtually ignored that he acted violently towards someone. They were more concerned of how this affected their bottom line, their financial stake in this person, versus how this person's spouse was or survived this incident. To reverse the desensitization that society has enacted on itself is to bring back compassion. Explain to people that violence is not something that should be commonplace. Violence, if it has to happen, is for survival, not because you are lashing out and you don't know how to deal with something. The best way to deal with a problem is to rationally and calmly talk it out. And part of the problem is that we no longer know how to communicate with each other. People no longer know how to talk. We no longer know how to express ourselves. It is felt that to be acknowledged, people need to make a statement. But some of the most significant statements that there is is to sit and be silent. Just like the sit-ins during the civil rights movements at the Montgomery Ward counter, where students sat with their fellow humans, black and white, and refused to allow society to tell them no, because they knew this was right. They were beaten, they were spit on, things were thrown on them. But the statement that they made by sitting there and fighting against violence, by being passive, made more of a statement than screaming at the top of their lungs. Thank you for joining me. Have a nice night.